Olá, boa noite. Wesoubiribó, hoje com o vídeo 6 de Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Fathers. Ontem, na palestra na faculdade, Gabriel aprendeu sobre divindades, cultos e nomes dos objetos nos rituais voodoo. O professor ficou de estudar o vévé, aquele desenho no chão, para ver se identificava o culto e a tribo originários daquele vévé. Disfarçado de padre, o Gabriel conseguiu de Madame Casanu importantes detalhes do voodoo em New Orleans, na parte de magia negra, que é o que ela crê e é o que ela fala bastante. Ele fez escondido o molde do bracelete de cobra, que era da bisavó dela, e com o qual a bisavó conseguia entrar nos cultos secretos, no templo secreto do voodoo de New Orleans, no tempo da Marie Laveau. De volta ao cemitério, Gabriel acabou encontrando Malia Gued e se declarando, né? De início ela negou a paixão, disse que não podia se envolver e foi embora. Mas depois, à noite, ela acabou indo até a livraria e lá passou a noite com Gabriel. Daí iniciamos o dia 4, com ela saindo da livraria e a estranha presença de um jovem que parece em transe e que fica só parado na janela olhando para dentro. A Grace comenta que pesquisou o vévé como ele tinha encomendado, como ele tinha pedido, e na biblioteca encontrou aquele mesmo padrão em foto de um jornal antigo de 1810, falando também de crime associado ao voodoo, ou que a população associava ao voodoo. E é daí que prosseguimos, ou seja, no início do dia 4, com 118 pontos dos 362 em jogo. Ou seja, quase um terço do jogo já foi, restam 2/3 pela frente. Então, vamos reduzir a minha câmera e prosseguir o jogo no dia 4. Só para que possam ver a pessoa aqui, o homem olhando a janela, aparentemente em transe. Já tomou café, ainda não leu o jornal, vamos lá.
Times dated June 21st, 1993. Gabriel's eye is immediately drawn to an article about the Voodoo Murders. He scans it quickly.
I don't believe this. They've closed the case.
What case?
The Voodoo Murders case. The paper says that the police have learned that the murders were a result of an underworld cartel war, and that the war is over.
That's not good?
It's ridiculous. And what about the killers? And the voodoo angle, they never got anything on that.
I know you were into it, Gabriel, but if it's over, that's hardly a negative. Anyway, if you're that upset, why don't you talk it over with your pal Mosley?
You don't get it, Grace. Just forget it, okay?
Gabriel decides to check his horoscope, despite his disgust. Death walks close to you today. Resist temptation lest his eye fall on you, too.
Peachy.
Gabriel also spots an ad for Sam Springleton, a jeweler. Sam hangs out at the Napoleon House.
Tá, New Orleans Times, 21 de junho de 1993. Caso encerrado, assassinatos voodoo resolvidos. A foto do meu amigo Mosley na capa do jornal. Os chamados assassinatos voodoo já terminaram, disse o detetive Franklin Mosley, do Departamento de Polícia de New Orleans. Nossa investigação revelou que esses assassinatos eram o resultado de uma guerra de cartéis de droga, disse Mosley em uma coletiva de imprensa agora à tarde. Essa guerra agora terminou e a gente desta grande cidade está a salvo de novo. A polícia revela que está duplicando os esforços para desmantelar o comércio ilegal de drogas que converteu New Orleans em seu novo campo de batalha atualmente. Um cartaz aqui, um anúncio de Sam Springleton, mestre joalheiro, preços acessíveis, contate o Sam na Casa de Napoleão. Casa de Napoleão, pelo que eu lembro, é um bar, um pub na cidade. E lá o joalheiro faz o seu escritório no bar. E vem a calhar porque ele fez o molde do bracelete da Madame Casanu, né? Então, em algum momento vai ser necessário o serviço dele. No horóscopo de Aquário, a morte ronda perto de você hoje. A morte ronda perto hoje. Resiste à tentação ou poderá também fixar-se em você. Ou ela poderá fixar-se em você. A Grace diz que tem a pesquisa do Vevé. Vamos ver o que ela nos diz.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
Se é que ela já não nos passou, né? Ronfur Voodoo, que é o local o templo, né?
Do you know anything about a secret voodoo houndfall?
In New Orleans?
I think so.
No, I don't, but it sounds dangerous. You're not gonna try to find this voodoo group yourself, are you?
Would I do that?
Mensagens.
Do you have messages for me?
Your grandmother called. She said to remind you to stop by and go through your father's things.
Okay.
Isso, agora ele tem que ir na casa da avó olhar as coisas do pai dele, que estão guardadas lá. Mais mensagem?
Do you have messages for me?
That man from Germany called again, Wolfgang Ritter. Now he's claiming to be a relative of yours.
Interesting.
Mais
Do
mensagem?
you have messages for me?
I've given everything to you.
Ah, mas agora apareceu o número de Wolfgang Ritter.
Can I get that phone number for Wolfgang Ritter?
Sure, I'll give it to you when we're done talking.
Alguma coisa para solicitar?
Could you do some research for me?
Sure, what?
Não consigo pensar em nada agora.
I can't think of anything.
Na verdade, não tem.
Here's that phone number.
Thanks.
Então ele tem o número, então ela já passou o periódico para ele que tem o Vevé do assassinato voodoo. Artigo sobre voodoo, é este.
The newspaper clipping describes a ritualistic murder in Congo Square. It includes a rough sketch of a pattern found around the body. The sketch is very similar to the reconstructed Veve.
É um Vevé muito parecido com aquele que ele reconstituiu, que o pintor reconstituiu para ele. E é de um crime de 7 de julho, não, 7 de julho é a reportagem. 1810, em Congo Square. Tinha mais alguma coisa aqui que ele não examinou? Ah, o número do Wolfgang. Não, não é assim que examina, então.
Wolfgang Ritter's phone number, written in Grace's pretty scrawl. The number written on the note is 4909-324-3333.
Didn't Grace say you had to dial 011 first to get international?
Mas ele vai ligar agora?
Gabriel watches the man watching the shop.
O homem vigiando a tenda.
Get the hell out of here.
The figure outside does not respond.
A pessoa nem responde nem se mexe. Será que eu saio para ir na avó? Será que eu leio o diário para saber o que está acontecendo? Ah tá, até o interrogatório do Mosley a gente já tinha lido, né? Quanto à hospitalidade sulista, Madame Casanur está chiflada. Ela confia em Willie Walker, mas não deixa que um jovem agradável como eu entre em sua casa. Vou necessitar um enfoque totalmente novo para conseguir que confie em mim o suficiente como para deixar-me entrar. Como posso conseguir que ela confie em mim? Há algo acerca de uma sala de conferências na universidade que sempre me faz cair dormindo. Aprendi algumas coisas, apesar de tudo. No voodoo se venera um panteão de espíritos chamado Loa. Um Loa pode ser um espírito elementar, um deus ou até um antepassado. Durante uma cerimônia de voodoo, os fiéis podem chegar a ser possuídos ou montados por um Loa. Alguns Loas são Dambala, o grande deus serpente, Erzuli, a dama do amor, Papanebo ou Ged, o senhor da morte, Agwe é o espírito da água, Legba, o espírito da encruzilhada, Ogum Badagri, o senhor da destruição. No Honfur Voodoo, como um templo, há um círculo ritual marcado por um poste central, chamado Potomitan. Há um padrão no solo, um desenho no solo chamado Vevé. Só as seitas mais antigas, todavia, utilizam máscaras de animais. Os artigos rituais incluem a calabaça ritual ou a som, o curtilho, a faca ritual, kubaça, o chicote ritual, fuetcash, e o ataúde ritual ou seque madulé. Esses artigos podem ser solicitados pela sacerdotisa voodoo principal ou uma maloa para um ritual específico. Cabri sans corps significa cabra sem cornos, ou uma forma elegante de dizer sacrifício humano. Os assassinatos voodoo são sacrifícios. Mas para quê ou para quem? Isto é estranho. Nunca vou deixar que ninguém me diga que sou engreído, sem mencionar que eu sou mal agradecido por não mencionar esse professor Hertridge. Diabos, ele não crê que os assassinatos são reais. Ele não crê, pela conversa, achei que ele era o único que acreditava. Suponho que não sabe tudo, depois de tudo. Me encantaria mostrar-lhe que está equivocado. Malha também o sente, eu sabia. Eu vi nos seus olhos que apenas podia manter longe de mim. A senti tremer só por estar tão perto de mim. Maldita seja, se tão só deixar de negá-lo. Dia 4. Acordei depois da melhor noite de minha vida, graças a Malia Guedes. Essa mulher vai ser a causa da minha morte, espero. Grace se pôs muito indignada ao respeito, mas pelo menos não está renunciando. Grace é genial, conseguiu algo de informação sobre o desenho Vevé num artigo acerca de um assassinato de 1810. O mesmo desenho apareceu na cena do crime. Se isso não é suspeito, não sei o que seria. Outro dia, outro horóscopo crítico. Não posso crer que algumas pessoas realmente creiam nessa coisa. Parece que Sam Springleton está fazendo negócios com a joalheria de novo. Eu o vejo todo o tempo na casa de Napoleão. Talvez vá ali à tarde tomar um copo de pin e relaxar-me. Não estou acostumado a trabalhar assim duro. A vovó chamou essa manhã, quer que eu passe por lá. Esse tipo, Wolfgang Ritter, segue chamando. Agora diz que é um parente meu. Creio que se tivesse parentes na Alemanha, a vovó já haveria mencionado. Mas talvez deveria especular um pouco a árvore genealógica. Então acho que tem que falar primeiro com a avó, especular a árvore genealógica para depois ver se fala com o Wolfgang Ritter. Vamos...
I'm out of here. Try not to sell out the store while I'm gone.
Ela vai tentar não vender tudo enquanto você está fora. Agora já tem aqui a casa de Napoleão, bar de pinga. E a vovó? Tá aqui. Casa da avó Knight. E também tem que ir lá porque na ausência do avô, o avô sempre tem preferência absoluta em tudo, a avó deve ser atendida também. Então vamos lá.
Gabriel, I'm so glad you stopped by.
Oh, sorry it's been a while, Grandma.
Not at all. Give me a kiss.
Now come on, sit down. Tell me how you're doing.
Nem abraçou, nem disse que ela é a menina da sua vida. Aqui.
On the wall are portraits of Gran and Granddad when they were young. Gabriel's inherited some good-looking genes.
O quadro da avó e do avô quando eram novos.
Granny likes soft lighting.
Cesto de costura.
Gran's knitting. She whips through that stuff like there was no tomorrow.
A vovó.
That's my Gran. Adorable as always.
Oh, you're such a tease.
Gran has a way with plants and kids.
Chaminé. Lareira.
Grandmother Knight rarely uses the fireplace these days. Too much of a hassle to clean. Fresh carnations, Granny's favorite.
E você esqueceu de levar flores pra avó, né?
That clock has been in the Wright family, Granny's family, for centuries.
Vamos falar com ela então, deixá-la só olhando aí.
How have you been, Gran?
Just fine, dear. I'm sorry I bothered you at work, but, I was hoping you'd get a chance to go through your father's things in the attic.
Don't be silly. You can call me anytime.
Nossa, tem uma lista enorme aqui para perguntar para a avó. Perguntar de New Orleans.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
New Orleans is very southern, of course, though not as much as it used to be when I was a girl. It's gotten much more influenced by the East Coast and that California stuff. Still, it hasn't changed as much as other places, I reckon. We've always been happy here.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
My goodness, boy, you lived here all your life, just like me. I can't tell you much that you don't already know.
Voodoo, a senhora sabe me dizer alguma coisa?
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Voodoo? What an odd question, Gabriel. Of course, you always were interested in monster movies and all that other weird stuff. You get that from your father and granddad. I don't know anything about it, dear. Of course, it was very big in New Orleans at one time, but you don't hear so much about it these days. Too much else in the world to worry about, I guess.
E os assassinatos voodoo, então, já que não falam muito hoje em dia?
What can you tell me about the Voodoo Murders?
Oh, Gabriel, nothing. And I don't want to. I sometimes wonder what this world is coming to.
Véspera de São João.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
St. John's Eve? I remember when I was a girl, we always had a St. John's Eve Mass. The Mass was said at midnight, and we held candles. One time, on the way home, we were waylaid by a large group of drunken revelers. They didn't hurt us, but oh, I was frightened. My father was furious. We never went to St. John's Eve Mass after that.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I haven't celebrated it in years, Gabriel. I'm sure there's still Mass in the more traditional churches, but I don't go.
Marie Laveau.
Have you ever heard of Marie Laveau?
Marie Laveau. Oh, of course. She was that voodoo woman, wasn't she? She preyed on people's fears and superstitions, is what I think. There are always those willing to take other people's money for nothing. You stay away from people like that, Gabriel.
Yes, Gran.
Cobras.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Snakes? What kind of snakes, dear?
Oh, I don't know, local kinds.
Well, we used to get cottonmouths in the park when I was a girl, but I haven't heard of one being sighted for years. Milk snakes and garter snakes are also around these parts, but they can't hurt you.
Thanks, Gran.
Máscaras de animais.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
Why, no, dear. Do you mean Mardi Gras masks?
Never mind, Gran.
Confur voodoo.
Can you tell me anything about a secret voodoo hound fall?
Gabriel, my goodness. What are you up to these days?
Oh, nothing, Gran, really.
You'd better not be. You know you're the only family I have left.
I know, Gran. It's okay.
Voodoo negro, já que a senhora não sabe nada do voodoo mais light.
Do you know anything about black voodoo?
I don't know much about any kind of voodoo, Gabriel.
Cabri sans corps.
Does the phrase Cabri Sanko mean anything to you?
Something without something, I think. Oh, my French is so rusty, I swear my mind is going.
No, it's okay. Thanks.
Ogum badagrum.
Does the name Ogun Badagri mean anything to you?
What, dear?
Never mind.
Dambala.
Have you ever heard of Dambala?
What, dear?
Never mind.
Esqueço. A senhora mesmo, conte-me da sua vida.
Tell me about yourself.
Me? Surely you have something more interesting to talk about.
No, come on, Gran.
Oh, all right, dear. What do you want to hear?
Que faz durante o dia?
What do you do all day?
You know how I love to knit and work in my garden. I also take long walks. It's the only way to keep an old body like mine from stiffening up.
You're not old.
Oh, don't be foolish. I'm older than the hills.
Não é velha nada. É minha avó. Seus dias de juventude.
Tell me about before you met Granddaddy.
Well, you know I was born Rebecca Wright. My daddy owned a lot of land outside of town. We grew peas and corn and cotton, all kinds of things. It was a good childhood, but my father was very strict. He didn't much let me out of his sight.
Como conheceu a avó?
Tell me how you met Granddaddy.
Oh, I met Helson at a church revival. There was a traveling preacher back then, a big fella named Reverend Jim. I even remember his slogan, "Come to me to find your way." Your granddad was sitting right behind me and my girlfriend, Alma. And at one point, old Reverend Jim was flinging his hair around with his fine brimstone annex. And a piece of it, one of those small add-on do's for men, went flying off. I swear, Helson and I were the only ones that noticed. We both started laughing to beat the band. Everyone looked at us like we were a couple of loonies. Oh, it was then I knew that he was for me.
É, porque ele era um cara engraçado, ela tinha que ficar com ele. E como estás, vovó?
How you feeling these days?
Fit as a fiddle, and don't you worry your head about it.
Fala-me qualquer coisa.
Just tell me anything at all.
I had your father when I was 22. The doctors told me I couldn't have any more after him, so I'm afraid I spoiled him rotten.
É. O pai do Gabriel foi filho único.
Just tell me anything at all.
I hate to admit it, but I was a jealous little thing when your granddaddy and I were younger. I loved him so ferociously, and he did attract the eyes of the ladies whether he wanted to or not.
Ela era muito ciumenta de todo mundo ficar olhando pro avô dele.
Just tell me anything at all.
I get lonely sometimes, but I have lots of girlfriends in the neighborhood. I call one of them if I'm feeling blue.
Quando fica muito sozinha, chama as amigas do bairro pra casa.
Just tell me anything at all.
I wish you'd settle down and give me a great-grandchild.
Oh, Gran.
Gostaria que você sossegasse e me desse bisneto.
Just tell me anything at all.
I never loved any man but your grandfather. And I never will.
Só amei seu avô e não vou amar mais ninguém. Deixa.
Oh, nothing. Never mind.
All right, dear.
Família Knights.
Tell me about our family.
Who would you like to hear about? Your granddad, your father, or your mother?
Harrison Knight é o avô. Philip Knight, o pai. Margaret Templeton Knight deve ser a mãe. Então, pela ordem.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Your granddad immigrated to America when he was 21. He worked his way through school, met and married me, and we had your father, Philip.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Your granddad supported me and your father with bookkeeping. Oh, I tell you what, though, he hated every minute of it. Didn't really like bookkeeping one bit. Maybe that was why he had the worst luck with jobs. Oh, the nights he'd come home afraid to tell me he lost another. And I'd tell him it didn't matter to me, but he felt ashamed, Gabriel.
O avô dele trabalhava com contabilidade, mas não gostava de contabilidade. Tá explicado por que a contabilidade da livraria é uma bagunça.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Harrison was only 36 when he died. Your father was 8 years old at the time. Your granddad was hit by a streetcar in the business district. It took me nearly a year to believe he was really gone.
I'm sorry, Gran.
Oh, I know you are, dear.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Did you know that your granddad was a poet? He was. He wrote the most beautiful poetry for me when we were courting. I always thought he should have done something with that gift, but he was such a practical man. Didn't believe in chasing after dreams.
Philip Knight, fale-me do meu pai.
Tell me about my father.
Your father was my only child. How we adored him.
Tell me about my father.
Philip suffered from terrible nightmares, just like your granddad did. Oh, they were two peas in a pod.
Tell me about my father.
When Philip met your mother, oh, it was love at first sight. They were married 2 weeks later. Never looked at a girl seriously until then, and he looked at plenty. You have your father's way with women, Gabriel. And your granddad's.
Era um mulherengo o pai dele, daí conheceu a mãe do Gabriel, se namorou, em 2 semanas estava casado.
Tell me about my father.
I wanted to just lay down and die when he and your mother were killed in that car crash when you were only 8. It was the thought of taking care of you that kept me going, Gabriel. The police say your father swerved off the road after being frightened by something. Perhaps a deer in the road, or wildcat.
Quando ele tinha 8 anos, os pais morreram em um acidente de carro. Parece que algo surgiu que fez o carro sair da pista.
Tell me about my father.
Your granddad wanted Philip to have a normal life. He was obsessed by that thought. He pushed Philip to go to law school, but Philip was driven to art. He painted almost in a daze. He would get so inside himself when he worked.
Tell me about my father.
He always hated that it was Margaret's money that supported the 3 of you when his painting couldn't. I kept telling him, try something more cheerful, like a landscape or two, but he couldn't do it. His work was just too dark and disturbing for the public, you know.
Os quadros do pai dele eram muito obscuros e doidões. Não conseguia vender nada. Tinha que viver com o dinheiro da mãe, da mulher.
Tell me about my mother.
Your mother was Margaret Templeton when your father met her. She came from a very wealthy Creole family in New Orleans. She was beautiful and reckless. She was madly in love with your father, of course, but I also think she liked to find her family. Since you're so interested in family history these days, why don't you go by St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 and visit the family tomb? It would be such a sweet gesture.
It's just past the Ross tomb, right? Oh, maybe I will.
É a tumba da família rica da mãe dele. Está lá no cemitério também, além da família Ross.
Tell me about my mother.
Your mother's family refused to give her money after the marriage. All she had left was a modest trust fund from her great aunt, who happened to like Philip. The remainder of your mother's trust fund became yours when she died. That's what you used to open your bookshop.
Tell me about my mother.
The Templetons are all gone now. Every last one of them. Oh, they never wanted anything to do with us, of course. What a waste.
Fazer mais cumprimento.
You know, you get prettier every time I see you.
Oh, you.
What's new,
Conversar.
Gran?
I've been working on baby sweaters for the church bazaar. Keeps me busy.
Oh, nothing. Never mind.
All right, dear.
Vamos lá no sótão ver as coisas que ela quer que você examine.
I'm gonna go up to the attic, Gran.
Be careful of the dust.
These old picture frames have been up here for years.
I think I'll leave that up here.
Manequim de costura.
It's an old dress dummy that Gran had in her sewing room years ago.
My first impression of the female form.
Primeira recordação do corpo feminino. Vamos pegar ou vamos usar?
I think I'll leave that up here.
Deixarei aí mesmo.
Do I really look that desperate?
Pareço tão desesperado. Poltrona.
The sheet-covered upholstered rocker used to be in Gabriel's nursery.
Ah, era do quarto de bebê do Gabriel.
I think I'll leave that up here.
Ele não quer pegar nada. E nessa caixa aqui?
That box of knickknacks has been up here for at least 5 years.
There's nothing I want in there.
Não quero nada dali. Roda de bicicleta de madeira.
It's an old, dusty bicycle tire.
I think I'll leave that up here.
A skylight lets welcome sunlight into the attic. The brass bed frame is from God knows where. The old trunk looks like it's gone to hell and back.
It looks pretty heavy.
É bem pesado, não é para carregar, então vamos usar.
There's a lot of Granddad's old stuff in here. Might be something interesting.
Pode ter algo interessante aqui. Tem uma cruz. Mas era só para tirar a cruz aqui, então. Tem um quadro aqui com um castelo, que é só para tirar também. Um bilhete. É verdade esse bilhete. Também tudo é só para tirar de lado. Né? Bíblia. Nada embaixo. Cartas. Roupas.
Some old clothes, including a pair of leather shorts.
Aren't those called lederhosen?
Ah, calça curta de tirolês. Chapéu de tirolês. Ah, caneco de chope. Também é tudo só para mexer aqui. Não, sombreiro já foi. Livros.
More of Harrison Knight's German books.
Just what I need.
Justamente o que eu preciso. Livros em alemão do Harrison Knight.
A bundle of letters. Love letters between Harrison and Rebecca.
Cartas de amor de vovô e vovó. Deixa lá. E a chave que você tem que pegar, né?
What's this? It's some sort of key.
Uma espécie de chave. Relógio. Vamos olhar.
An elaborate mechanical clock, probably of German origin, is among the discarded treasures of the attic.
Relógio antigo, provavelmente alemão. Complicado, intrincado.
I think I'll leave that up here.
Deixarei aí mesmo, mas vou usar. Ou pelo menos vou olhar. Desenho.
There's an interesting design in the base of the clock.
Tem um desenho interessante na base. Símbolos. Tem os símbolos aqui, mas que rodam, não dá para perguntar, nem para olhar, nem para nada. Vamos usar a chave, então.
A keyhole sits empty on the side of the clock.
Usar a chave.
Nothing happens.
Não, não acontece nada. Tem que colocar o relógio em alguma posição certa, então.
Nothing happens.
Ah, tem os ponteiros também. Poxa, além de mexer nos símbolos, frente do relógio.
The face of the clock is hand-painted. A ring of 6 symbols surrounds the face of the clock. A sword, a sun, an angel, a noose, an eclipse, and a dragon. The ring of symbols doesn't appear to have any mechanical function, but it does move.
Sem ter ideia de que desenho é aonde. Teto.
Grandma's attic is a storehouse of forgotten treasures and useless junk. It's a lady's hat from the 1920s.
And from Gran's Virginia Woolf period. I think I'll leave that up here.
O livro de desenhos do pai dele. Mas não me dá ideia nenhuma do que fazer com o relógio, os símbolos e os ponteiros do relógio.
Gabriel looks fondly at his father's sketchbook and charcoal pencil. Nothing happens. The face of the clock is hand-painted. A ring of 6 symbols surrounds the face of the clock. A sword, a sun, an angel, a noose, an eclipse, and a dragon. The ring of symbols doesn't appear to have any mechanical function, but it does move.
Tá faltando alguma coisa ainda, tinha que ter uma indicação.
Nothing happens. Nothing happens.
Vou ficar tentando todas as combinações possíveis aqui.
Gabriel looks fondly at his...
It's Granddaddy's old golf bag. Golf was never my game. I'm not sure what my game was, but it wasn't golf.
The old velvet curtains hung in the parlor before Gran lightened the place up.
Aqui nessa caixa ele não quer mexer. Só... Se aqui tiver
I don't
mais...
think there's anything else in that trunk that would interest anybody but my gran.
Não, ele nem quer mexer mais nessa arca. E se jogar o relógio no chão? Chutar aqui até quebrar? Vovó, me diga como é que eu abro aquele relógio lá.
Can we talk, Gran?
Of course, my boy. How can I help?
Nada, ele tem
Oh,
que abrir
nothing.
com o que ele
Never
já
mind.
tem,
All
ele não
right,
tem
dear.
nada.
Granny doesn't like anyone messing with her clock, including Gabriel.
Well, Gran, I'd better get going.
Remember that I love you, Gabriel.
Love you too, Gran.
Em algum outro momento deve ter alguma ideia a respeito. Vamos no bar de pinga ver a coisa ou vamos no cemitério que a avó mandou? Ainda é a mesma marca?
The marks are reddish in color and remind Gabriel of crosses.
É, já estão aí há vários dias. Tumba Ross, Tumba Right. É, agora ele vai.
The Wright family tomb. Several of Gabriel and Gran's family members are laid to rest here. Someone has left a small vase by the Wright family tomb.
Not sure who else comes here besides me and Gran, but that was nice of them.
A statue of a small child clings to a cross atop the Wright tomb. The marble residents of this city of the dead say nothing.
Placa Franklin.
The marker reads, Franklin Wright.
These are Gran's folks. I never knew them.
Nunca conheci. Merrill.
The marker reads, Merrill Planter Wright.
These are Gran's folks. I never knew them.
The
Harley.
marker reads, Harley Wright.
Gran's sister.
Que é muito jovem?
The marker reads,
Gran's sister.
A irmã da vovó morreu jovem. Placa Harrison, meu avô.
the marker reads, Harrison Knight.
Granddaddy.
Vamos
Gabriel doesn't want to take the nameplates from his family tomb.
Não quer pegar a placa. Quer conversar?
How's it going, Granddaddy?
Philip, papai.
The marker reads, Philip Knight.
Daddy.
Gabriel doesn't want to take...
Não quer pegar a placa.
Hey, Daddy.
The marker reads, Margaret Templeton Knight.
My mother. Miss you, Mom. Oh, shoot. Huh. Looks like someone left something in that vase.
Bilhete. É verdade esse bilhete. Não, uma nota.
Inside the broken vase, Gabriel sees a $20 bill.
Looks like it's my lucky day.
This family tomb bears the inscription, "Rest in peace," and the name Fuller Mill. This above-ground tomb is only large enough to accommodate one resident. An odd monument highlights one gravesite. It looks vaguely reptilian.
O que ele veio fazer aqui de novo?
Two heavy, solid marble doors.
Vai lá abrir a tumba dos outros.
The plate is in lock position. There's a keyhole on the plate, but Gabriel can't operate that without a key.
É, acho que você não tem nada que fazer. Falar alguma coisa nova com o vigilante?
Hello there. Got a sec?
Go ahead. These folks ain't in no hurry.
Não, não tem nada por falar.
No thanks.
An old wooden table holds some drinks and an ashtray.
The drummer is busy.
A street drummer has found a spot outside the Napoleon House. Gabriel can't do anything with the drummer on the street. A small table, recently deserted, holds the remains of someone's drink.
Marcos.
A sharp-eyed gentleman in a gray sport coat hunches over a chessboard, chuckling to himself.
E o Sam.
A man in a loud tie stares morosely at a chessboard.
Eu ainda nem sei quem são, mas já sei quem são.
It's a bust of Napoleon. How apropos. Gabriel and the bartender are old pals. His name is Stonewall King, and he knows everybody around here.
Could I ask you a few questions?
Sure. I'm not too busy at the moment.
Voodoo.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Voodoo? Don't believe in it myself. I invented a drink once called Laveau's Tomb, but it wasn't very popular. Some people do believe, though. Even some of our regulars here at Napoleon House.
What do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
It's all over the papers. Some kind of serial killings.
What do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
They say a lot of voodoo stuff is found near the bodies.
What do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
Everybody's talking about them. It's starting to scare off the tourists.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
Greatest city in the world. I'd never want to live anywhere else.
Claro que não. São Paulo, a melhor terra do mundo.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
This city must get about 1 million tourists a year, especially around Mardi Gras.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
A lot of people come here because they think it's mysterious. All that talk about voodoo.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
You should probably find a book on the subject, you know?
Véspera de São João.
What's the significance of St. John's Eve?
All I know is it's some kind of voodoo holiday.
What's the significance of St. John's Eve?
People who believe in that stuff think it's a real special night. Magical.
Do you know anything about snakes?
What about them?
No, just anything.
You ask the weirdest questions. I don't know anything about snakes.
Marie Laveau.
Have you ever heard of Marie Laveau?
Sure. She's kind of the patron saint of voodoo in New Orleans. Don't know too much about her, but the tourists sure get off on all that stuff.
Turista pira.
Have you ever heard of Marie Laveau?
There's a voodoo museum in town. They'd know more about it than I do.
Máscaras de animais.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
Come Mardi Gras, you see all kinds of masks in here.
Voodoo negro.
Do you know anything about black voodoo?
Black voodoo? No, I prefer not to think about that kind of stuff, personally. Crime, perversion, weirdos. Just makes me depressed.
Ogum Badagrum.
Does the name Ogun Badagri mean anything to you?
Never heard of it.
Dambala.
Have you ever heard of Dambala?
Never heard of it.
Honfur Voodoo.
Can you tell me anything about a secret voodoo hound fall?
Are you kidding? Around here? Hope they aren't serving drinks.
Well, if they are, I don't think anyone in his right mind would want one.
Ranfort. Eu falo sempre errado. Cabrice encore.
Does the phrase Caprice encore mean anything to you?
Never heard of it.
Fale sobre você mesmo.
Tell me about yourself.
A good bartender listens to other people's life stories without telling his own.
What can you tell me about your regulars in here?
See those old guys at the chess table? That's Sam and Marcus. They've played there every day for 20 years. Sam, the one with the purple jacket, he's lost every one of those games. It's not that he's a bad player. I've seen him beat guys twice as good as Marcus. But Marcus has Sam so psyched out, he loses his nerve every time. By the way, Sam, the chess player, he's into that voodoo stuff. He's always talking about spells and gree-gree and such.
Really? Thanks. What can you tell me about your regulars in here?
This crowd, the ones you see, are mostly regulars. That guy and girl in the corner come here a lot. When they're not fighting, they're all over each other. In other words, they're in love.
What can you tell me about your regulars in here?
I'd call you a regular, Gabe. And one of our local writer celebrities, too. Been coming in here, what, 10 years now?
Oh, don't remind me.
We're still waiting for that bestseller.
Don't hold your breath. What can you tell me about your regulars in here?
That's about all I can say about this crowd.
Sam e o Voodoo.
So what has Sam told you about voodoo?
Well, about 50 years ago, Sam was too shy to talk to this pretty girl he was in love with. He went to a voodoo-ien and had her make him a love charm. It was a little pouch that he had to bury under the girl's front porch. Well, he buried the pouch, and the next day he went up and talked to the girl. And sure enough, she didn't reject him. Now she's his wife, poor guy.
Sam e o Voodoo.
So what has Sam told you about voodoo?
That's about all I can remember.
Hi,
Conversar.
how's it going?
It's been worse.
Business picking up?
Some, mostly locals, as usual.
You ever get tired of tending bar for a living?
Never thought much about doing anything else.
The weather's pretty crappy out there today.
I wouldn't know. I never get out of here before dark.
This looks like a lively crowd.
Lively crowds are trouble. These guys just sit and drink. That makes me happy.
Os músicos da rua.
Tell me about the street musicians around here.
I like music as much as the next guy, but they get pretty monotonous sometimes, you know? Like that drummer right outside. They say there's been a drummer outside Napoleon House since the day it opened. Now, I like drums, but this character really gets on my nerves. It sounds like the same thing over and over. I just want to say enough already.
Sounds like my life. Tell me about the street musicians around here.
Don't know what else I could say.
Excuse me, I hate to interrupt your game, but could I ask you a few questions?
What game? This ain't a game, it's a slaughter.
He's right, you know. So let me die in peace, would you?
Sorry to bother you, but could I ask you a few questions?
I'm not the chatty type, am I, Sam?
No, you old bastard, you're not.
Besides, I'm busy sucking poor old Sam dry. Go bug someone else.
You're a real sweetheart, Marcus, you bastard.
Ele sempre ganha do Sam.
You sure I can't ask you a few questions?
Beat it, you loser.
You come here a lot, don't you?
Every ever-loving day of my life for 20 years.
Are you sure I can't bother you with a few questions?
Mister, please, I'm trying to turn this game around.
Yeah, right. Got a crowbar?
Shut up, you bastard.
Vai ter que dar jeito no jogo dele aqui.
Gabriel has spent enough hours sitting around this bar.
Já perdeu bastante tempo nesse bar?
Hi.
Mm-hmm.
The sign says, Special St. John's Eve Lagnia. Free bottle of lover come back to me oil, or master gambling oil with every purchase over $50.
Log me up. My French is lousy, but everyone in New Orleans knows what that means. A little something extra.
Como é que é? Se custa 50 e ele só tem 20.
Can I ask you just a few more questions?
Whatever, man.
Do you know anything about a secret voodoo houndfall?
There's no such thing. Not around here.
Would you take 50 for Willie Jr.?
Don't insult me, monsieur. The price is $120.
What? You said you'd sell it for 100 before.
You misheard, monsieur.
Mas ele só tem 20. Como é que ele quer saber se o cara aceita 50? Mas ele precisava dessa poção do jogo.
To get what's in the case, Gabriel would need money.
Falaram que eu tinha que clicar nos outros frequentadores aqui também? Pra quê? Homem infeliz.
An unhappy-looking man exposed to dangers of drinking alone. That could only lead to trouble.
É, melhor não empurrar o cara, conversar com ele.
Can I ask you some questions?
No. Now, beat it.
Vamos conversar com esse apaixonado.
Hello there.
Excuse me. I was talking to the lady here.
And she was listening raptly, I'm sure.
A young woman is enjoying drinks with her boyfriend.
Kinda cute. Better not. Her boyfriend doesn't look too
Melhor
friendly.
não.
Nah. Can I ask you some questions?
Sure. You want to know my sign?
On second thought, I don't think you could help. Forget it.
The bar is a 19th century antique in lovingly polished walnut. The Napoleon House is one of the quarter's very old, very classic neighborhood bars and restaurants. Gabriel is found here frequently. A drummer has decided to set up outside the police station.
Agora o Mosley vai ter que me contar que história é essa de encerrar a investigação.
Knight, hate to tell you this, but you're out of a book. The Voodoo Murders case has been closed.
I had a feeling you were gonna say that. Son of a bitch. I have to tell you, Bud, I'm pretty pissed off about this case being closed. You guys are making a big mistake.
Hey, I'm not any happier about it than you are, Knight, but I've got my orders.
Ah, foram ordens superiores, então. Veve.
Do you know anything about veves?
What?
Veves. They're ritualistic patterns used in voodoo. You know, like those marks we found around the body.
You know what the department says about that, Knight? That voodoo stuff is faked.
Yeah, well, they're wrong. These veves...
Look, just stop worrying about those marks. I don't think they're relevant.
What do you know about black voodoo?
Black voodoo? Sounds like a put-on to me.
Have you ever heard of Damballa?
You mean gumbo?
No, I mean Damballa.
Never heard of it.
Can you tell me anything about a secret voodoo hound fall?
Oh, come on. Somebody's pulling your leg, Knight.
Are you sure?
Ain't nothing secret about voodoo in Narlands. There's a museum, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, but that's the stuff they want you to see.
You're getting mighty paranoid, Knight.
Can you tell me anything about a secret voodoo hound fall?
I told you, you're nuts. Drop it.
Can you tell me anything?
I told you, you're nuts. Drop it.
Só vai ficar aí, Ogum Badagrum.
Does the name Ogun Badagri mean anything to you?
Say what?
Ogun Badagri. It's a voodoo loa.
Speak English or shut up, Knight.
Sorry, didn't mean to confuse you. Guess I'll take that as a no. What's the status on the Voodoo Murders case?
The case? What case? I told you, the Voodoo Murders case is closed.
How can you just close it? It's not solved, is it?
Oh, it's solved. Turns out the Chicago Mafia was trying to invade local territory. Use the Mississippi for drug running now that Florida's so hot. What we had here was a little resistance from the local businessmen. Word came in this morning that the Chicago group is giving up and pulling out of Nolans.
But that doesn't bring the killers to justice.
Well, the boys upstairs seem to figure it this way. Let the slime kill each other. Better the vermin we know than Chicago vermin, I guess. The attitude in the department is that we just been done a huge favor. And they're probably right.
What about the local cartel? Are you just gonna let them go?
At least they're part of us. We'll deal with them over time. Always have. Nolans is pretty clean that way, you know?
Well, that's the illusion, isn't it?
Look, I'm not totally in agreement here either. But what can I do? These guys are not about to get caught. I'm disappointed about the book too. Look, Next big murder case I get, I'll call you in, and we'll do that one up right, okay? In fact, I could probably dig up some old cases, and you could spice them up.
No thanks. What's the status on the Voodoo Murders case?
I told you, it's closed.
Também fica em aberto. Reabrir o caso.
How can I convince you to reopen the case?
Look, the department's not interested.
So, couldn't you make them interested?
With what? I got 7 bodies and still no leads. The voodoo angle's worthless, and besides, these people aren't hurting anybody but out-of-town drug dealers and hitmen.
The voodoo stuff is not worthless. It's the key to the whole thing. And these people are dangerous. They need to be stopped.
Okay, you want me to reopen this case? Prove what you just said.
What do you mean?
You need to prove that there's a legitimate voodoo cult in Narland. Prove that they're a threat. Get me a lead on the cult.
How can I convince you to...
I already told you. You still need to prove that there's a legitimate voodoo cult in Narland. Prove that they're a threat. Get me a lead on the cult.
Bem, a reportagem vai provar que existe. Já faz tempo.
This is a newspaper clipping about a murder committed in 1810. That murder is an exact match of the Voodoo Murders, right down to the marks around the bodies.
This does sound like the same M.O. 1810.
1810. They killed then, they're killing now. Isn't that proof that they're likely to kill again? Or that they are a threat?
Sure, if there is a voodoo cult, they're a threat.
Então, uma das condições já surgiu. O VV reconstituído.
You know those marks you found around the murder victims? This is a reconstruction of the whole pattern.
What makes you think this is an accurate reconstruction?
Well, I borrowed the partial patterns from your police file and did my own tracing of the pattern at Lake Pontchartrain. An architectural artist reconstructed it for me from the partials.
Really? So this is the whole pattern, huh? That's pretty good work, Knight, but that doesn't prove that this pattern is really connected to voodoo.
Que mais você tem? Esse tijolo aqui e uma luminária. E a fotografia do assassinato que o Mosley mesmo deu
I
para
have
ele.
that murder photo you left for me.
Good. Just don't let anyone know I gave it to you.
I wouldn't show it to a soul.
Ai, ai. Serpente do lago.
Mosley's seen as much in that scale as he's going to.
Então não. Código Voodoo.
That doesn't prove anything.
O meu disfarce de sacerdote. O molde de bracelete.
That doesn't prove anything.
O que
Can I
está
ask you about
faltando
some
mesmo?
stuff?
You're the writer. Ask away.
Reabrir o caso.
How can I convince you to reopen the case?
I already told you. You still need to prove that there's a legitimate voodoo cult in Narland. Get me a lead on the cult.
Uma pista sobre o culto e provar que existe um culto legítimo. Moonbeam. Oh, Crash.
It's Crash, the guy from Mosley's office.
Hey,
At the
Crash,
first
wait
sight of
up.
Crash only looks scared and keeps walking.
I wonder what he's up to.
It's Crash, the guy from Mosley's office. At the first sight of Gabriel, he slouches away like a beaten dog.
I wonder what he's up to.
Tá como cachorro assustado.
Hey, Crash, wait up.
Crash only looks scared and keeps walking.
Vai atrás dele, que nem o mímico.
Hey, Crash, wait up.
Crash only looks scared and keeps walking.
Hey,
Crash only looks scared and keeps walking. It's Crash.
Vou vê-lo no mirador da praça então, já que o Crash não me deixa vê-lo.
4 pairs of binoculars are rigorously mounted on the cement floor.
Esse aqui para baixo. Não dá para mexer? Madame Lorelai.
Madame Lorelei, the fortune teller, is garbed in a belly dancer's outfit and wears a boa around her neck. A real boa. St. Louis Cathedral. The original church on this site was built in 1724 and was named for Louis IX of France. That church burnt in the Great Fire of 1788. The present church dates from 1851.
That's Crash. What the hell is he up to with that drummer?
The drummer is busy.
Huh, Crash and the drummer. Interesting.
A lone drummer beats out.
Hey there, nice beat. I dig it.
The drummer does not respond.
Crash.
Crash is huddled in a pew. He looks seriously ill.
Muito doente.
I need to talk to you. Ask you some questions.
No way, man. I'm too sick. Go away.
Come on. I have to know what you know about these voodoo people.
You don't know nothing about nothing, man. You are so far out of it, you wouldn't understand anything. Just like that friend of yours, Mosley. Go away!
I'm not like Mosley. I know more than you think I do. I'll believe you.
Oh, forget it, man. It's not worth my breath.
Come on, talk.
Ele tá muito doente, o que você teria pra...
Do you recognize this?
No. Oh, don't waste my time.
Ah, isto. A única coisa que ele pode saber.
Do you recognize this?
No. Oh, don't waste my time.
Mas nem isso deu ação. Veva.
Do you recognize this?
No. Oh, don't waste my time.
Hey, kids!
Bruno, how nice.
Gee, a customer.
Of yours? Hardly.
How's the flower business?
Well, better than the used book business, I see.
Rare books.
That explains why I so rarely see anyone in here. Are you gonna sell me that wonderful painting of yours today?
É assim que ele vai conseguir dinheiro. Quanto você paga?
How much would you give me for it?
Oh, you're serious? You'll let me have it?
Gabriel, don't you dare sell your father's painting.
Yeah, I'll let you have it all right. How much for the painting?
Well, I could give you 100. That's all I can let go at the moment, you know. My affairs are so tied up.
Gabriel, $100 for your father's painting?
Stay out of this, Grace. Well, I guess I don't need the money that badly.
From the looks of this shop, I'm sure you will, honey. And soon.
Não, agora não vai embora. Era só para regatear. Era só para ver se conseguia um pouco mais, não era para você ir embora.
Nope. No safe full of money back there.
Que droga. Não, por que isso?
The number written on the note is 4909-324-3333.
Didn't Grace say you had to dial 011 first to get international?
E agora, por que tá aparecendo esse outro ali? Se era para aparecer esse daqui?
Wolfgang Ritter's phone number. The number written on the note is
4909.
The number written on the note is 4909.
324-333.
I'm not calling Germany. That Wolfgang Ritter guy says he's a relative, but I've never heard of him.
Não vou ligar. É isso, tem que falar com a avó, mas não dá para falar com a avó sobre isso. Que droga. Vamos parar por aqui. Já passou de 1h20. E sem abrir aquela caixa do relógio lá, pelo jeito não vai dar ação nenhuma, mas não veio nenhuma orientação do que tem que fazer lá, aquele caderno de desenho do pai dele. Não dá para entender nada, que símbolo seria aonde, que horas teria que marcar, tá? Não lembrava que fosse bobo assim, esse negócio de te deixar perdido em algum ponto. Então é isso. Por hoje paramos por aqui. O Exou Biribó, agradecendo pela preferência, pelo apoio, desejando boa noite, até amanhã e por enquanto, fui!